Hey everyone, the name is Erik, and in today's video we are going to be talking about introverted intuition in INFPs and INTPs. So if you know or have spoken to an INFP or an INTP, you probably observed that sometimes they seem to manifest something like introverted intuition. You probably noticed that sometimes they seem to have a capacity to think in a way that is somewhat similar, but not exactly like the INFJ or INTJ personality type. Perhaps if you are an INFP or an INTP, you'll be wondering if maybe that is introverted intuition that I was using just there. Maybe I actually have introverted intuition. And soon you had this short existential crisis where you've gone, maybe I'm an INTJ or maybe I'm an INFJ. You know, a lot of people get stuck here. A lot of people have this issue. A lot of INFPs and INTPs out there will or have been wondering if they are possibly INFJs or INTJs. Because theoretically, it's said that INFJs and INTJs are introverted intuitives, and that INFPs and INTPs have some, but not fully have extrovert intuition. A lot of people assume this is impossible. How can I have this? How can I use this? Was this just an accident? Was this just something random? Was it just a coincidence? But there are some traits of introvert intuition that are completely normal for an INFP and an INTP. What I will tell you in this video is that intuition changes form depending on if it's used by a judging personality type or a perceiving personality right now. And the intuition of the INFP or an INTP is constantly brought upon by this. INFPs and INTPs, they brainstorm options and alternatives. They think tactically. What if this happens? What if that happens? What possible actions could happen in this moment? What could happen next? What could come to happen? How do I know it would happen? What do I do if it happens? Intuition and perceiving is all of that. Intuition and perceiving is that process of seeing different variables in a situation and how they will play out, thinking about it as a chessboard or as a group of people and complex variables constantly being exchanged by other people. Intuition and perceiving is manifested by a need for dialogue. So INFPs and INTPs love to have a dialogue, a back and forth where they throw out ideas. So what do you do if I say that? So what does he do what do I do if he says that? So if I make this move, what move will you make? If I do this, what will you do? So INFPs and INTPs love discussing these variables and situations like that. Now, the introverted intuition is always a part of the INFP and the INTP, of the healthy INFP and INTP. And it serves a very positive role to them. As introverts, INFPs and INTPs have an internal orientation of the mind. The mind prefers to start from the inside and then go outwards. The mind focuses on our thoughts, our theories, our ideas. And INFPs and INTPs, they like to go into this existential or philosophical stage of theorizing on something, of going, why did that happen? What made it happen? What made it come to be? Where did it come from? Introverted intuition makes the INFP or the INTP think like a philosopher. It makes them wonder and think existentially about the world. The world is not just a set of coincidences and patterns. It's a state of, there is a source, there is a theory, there is some kind of explanation that can be used to understand abstract events and difficult questions of life. So what you'll find is INFPs and INTPs philosophical side is completely fueled by introverted intuition. Now, because introverted intuition pairs with intuition and perceiving, this is what brings about the difference with INFJs and INTJs. What you'll find is that INFJs and INTPs alike love to theorize, but the INFJ likes to come up with one grand vision, where the INTP prefers to come up with alternative explanations or answers to solve problems, often of a thinking nature. For example, understanding mechanics, understanding clues, understanding connections, and where the INFJ wants one explanation, the INTP is happy having 3 or 4 possible alternatives. So the INFP or the INTP often disregards that of having one idea or one answer. INFPs and INTPs can rarely settle for just one explanation. Often what they want is several. So they often come up with different reads of a situation. When you talk to an INFP, you get, well, it could be this, or it could be that, or it could be that. But when you talk to an INTJ, it is only that vision, only that idea. What the INTJ or the INFJ does is they speculate, what is the most likely scenario? And then it is only that scenario, it is only that route. So they will spend a lot of time and energy working on developing that, where the INFP or the INTP quickly starts to dismantle their own strategies. Perhaps they try to start building a strategy, but what tends to happen is the INTP or the INFP has a tendency to question this strategy. Well, I had this strategy, but all of a sudden these changes have started to occur. So I think I'm going to have to switch it. I started up this study, but I think I want to be that instead. I wanted to get into this, but I found out as I went that maybe I should go that way instead. So the adaptive nature of the perceiving type, of the perceiving psyche, makes and breaks intuition and judging in the INFP or the INTP. So often what you find is just having one answer, just having one speculating about something is often considered wrong for the INFP or the INTP. Hey Morty, Mordor, Wooba Luba Dub Dub. Thanks for joining in. So what you'll find is INFPs and INTPs tend to dismiss speculation. What I see often when I speculate is NPs will tell me, why do you speculate? You can't be sure. You can never be too sure. You can never know. How can you know that? How can you act as if you know this when you only speculate about it? So there's a tendency to see speculation with a degree of stress. INFPs and INTPs become stressed by the thought of speculation because they consider it to be a faulty or limited process. They know you're not getting the full answer. They know there's a chance that you miss something. They know there might be more variables to think about. So ideally, what the INFP will want is to have multiple options or variables or scenarios in their head. And they would rarely want to commit to one singular one. So that of committing to one idea or to one vision is very difficult and associated with stress. When going into judging, perceivers tend to experience stress. When going into perceiving and having and brainstorming scenarios, the INFP or the INTP experiences relief. So they enjoy having different answers, having different possibilities in their head, but they become stressed by the thought of narrowing down to one conclusion. So a lot of INFPs also go, maybe I'm an INFJ. But when you start reading into NJ and you start thinking about the cognitive function and its workings, you often recognize that, yeah, that's not me at all. So in the beginning, at the surface view, it's very easy to identify with the INFJ description. It's easy for the INTP to relate to some part of the INTJ description. Why is that? Well, of course, there are so many similarities beyond just those stereotypical 8 cognitive functions that we talk about today. There are actually 16 cognitive functions if you think about it from the perspective of introverted intuition versus intuitive perceiving. If you start aligning and connecting and seeing differences between perceivers and judgers, you also notice that their whole mind is wired differently. So what you see in the NJ is this clearly defined grammar. There are rules for how to think. There are standards. There are laws for what is smart, and there are rules about how you speculate about something, how you think about it, how you go and engage in an idea. But for the INFP or the INTP, there are less of these rules. So of course, sure, INTPs want logic in how they think. And of course, INFPs want to think about things that feel right to them. And they engage in this with introverted feeling or introverted thinking. But the intuitive judging process means there is a certain grammar. So what I find is when a new idea comes up, NPs go, wow, that's interesting. Let's think about that. But the NJ goes, let's think about that later. well, I'm busy with this idea right now, or I have to work with that idea, or yeah, I can talk about that idea, but I have to talk about it in this way. So there's a grammar to how NJs think. Their minds are, if you conceptualize them, they are like intricate corridors, they are labyrinths that you have to walk through. But for the NP, it is much more open, which means ideas come and go. Ideas can just enter into the INFP's mind, and they can start thinking about an idea, and then the next minute they forgot about it. And there's an openness and a receptiveness to new ideas and to new input and abstract possibilities. But there is not necessarily any corridor. There are no rooms or compartments, so there's less for the ideas to stick to. So this allows the INFP or the INTP to be more initially curious about an idea, where the INFJ or the INTJ is more initially skeptical of an idea. When a new idea comes up to me as an INFJ, my initial thought is, what if this idea could potentially screw up my other ideas? So my tendency to stick to my own strategy, my own idea, my own vision comes at the expense of sometimes dismissing new possibilities and forgetting about other options. So a part of development is recognizing and being open to that, and also accepting and acknowledging that in other people. If you can stick to your vision, that's all fine and good. But if you have other people, friends in your circle, family members that can provide you with the bigger picture, that's the ideal, because that means you have people that have your back, people that can see when there are things that are going to come up that could potentially screw up your strategy. So what you're looking for is to keep an environment around you. As an INFP or an INTP, you want an environment around you of NJs that can see the bigger picture and keep you filled in and see the strategy, see the game, see the vision, see how things will probably play out. So while you start in that brainstorming process and you have that dialogue and you talk about maybe this idea, maybe that idea, maybe this idea, then Jay can go, probably that idea, probably not the other two. And in that, you have a very good intellectual exchange. That's going to maximize your intuition, or the intuition of the group. And that's going to maximize the ideas and the intelligence of your group. And that's going to help you make the right decision. So I hope this video helped you understand how you use introverted intuition as an INFP or an INTP. Remember, when you theorize, that's introverted intuition. When you philosophize, that's introverted intuition. When you think existentially about something, that's introverted intuition. When you try to explain something, that's introverted intuition. But when you start brainstorming about it, when you start picking it apart, when you start asking questions, when you start going, what about that then and that then? That's intuition and perceiving. So recognize how you use these two processes together. Recognize that you don't use intuition and judging, because if you do, then you're probably an INFJ or an INTJ. So if this video helped you, leave a comment down below. Feel free to share your thoughts and your experiences of introverted intuition as an INFP or an INTP. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you all will tune in tonight, this evening, in about 10 hours, where me and Peter, an ENFP, will be doing a deep dive, asking each other's questions about our development and about our thoughts and about what's unique about us within our personality types. Thanks for everyone for tuning in, and I hope to see you all in the next video.